So you've probably heard of Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. But what you might not know is that it isn't just some list of self-help tips. It's actually built on a really deep philosophy about the nature of reality itself. And to get it, we have to start with the two fundamental forces the book argues we all live between: order and chaos. All right, to really get a feel for this, let's start with something we can all relate to, right? Taxes. In one column, you've got order. Your tax return is filed. Everything is neat, it's predictable, it's all good. But then, on the other side, you have chaos. You're being audited. Suddenly, the world you thought you knew just shatters and you're thrown into total uncertainty. The book's whole point is that our entire lives are a constant dance between these two states. Okay, so the book frames our entire experience through this lens of order and chaos. It's not about trying to pick one over the other, but about finding a way to exist between them. So let's break down what they actually are. Order is basically the world of structure. It's your organized calendar, your study job, all the social rules we just kind of understand. It's the territory we've already explored, where the map is clear and the ground beneath your feet feels solid. It's security. Chaos, on the other hand, well, that's the unknown. It's the sudden diagnosis you never saw coming, the unexpected layoff, a betrayal from someone you really trusted. It's when the bottom completely drops out from under you. But here's the crucial part. It's also where everything new comes from: new opportunities, creativity, and real growth. The book uses the image of the serpent in the Garden of Eden to make a really powerful point. I mean, even in paradise, the most perfect form of order you could possibly imagine, chaos is still there. It's an unavoidable part of reality, woven right into the fabric of existence. So if chaos is inevitable, what are we supposed to do about it? Let's take a look at the danger of what happens when we ignore it, using this great metaphor of the dragon in the house. The book brings up a children's story called There's No Such Thing as a Dragon. It starts with a little boy named Billy who finds a small, friendly, cat-sized dragon in his house. A totally manageable problem, right? He tells his mom, but she just dismisses him, saying dragons aren't real. So the whole family decides to just ignore it. But the dragon doesn't go away. Instead, it starts to grow. And that problem you refuse to acknowledge, it only gets bigger. By ignoring it, the family lets that dragon grow so huge, it fills up every single room until it literally lifts the entire house off its foundation and just carries it away. Willful blindness to a problem doesn't solve it. It allows the chaos to completely consume the structure of your life. And this isn't just a metaphor. Think about this real-world example from the book. A father spent 45 minutes times every single night fighting with his son to get him to sleep. It seems trivial, but when you do the math, it's staggering. That adds up to 240 hours a year. That's a month and a half of full-time work, all spent on one small, ignored dragon. So what happens when life becomes painful, when chaos really hits hard? People often look for someone to blame. The book calls these flawed responses utopia's shadow and argues they're actually deeply dangerous. Two of the most common flawed reactions are, first, you develop this deep resentment and just blame the world for all your problems. And second, you latch onto these rigid, utopian ideologies that promise a perfect world that's free from any suffering. The book offers this personal, pretty chilling example of that first path. A friend named Chris, who was filled with this aimless resentment, would walk down the street and just snap the side view mirrors off of parked cars. His justification, he claimed they were part of a corrupt system. But really, he was just taking revenge on the world for his own misery. Now, that second path, adopting ideologies that promise a perfect order, that can be even more dangerous. The book uses the horrifying example of the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia. An intellectual's theory of a perfect society was used to justify driving people from cities and working a quarter of the population to death. So if ignoring chaos and chasing utopia are both catastrophic, what's the alternative? Well, the book's proposed antidote is to confront the unknown. But here's the key: you have to do it voluntarily. The antidote is basically a three-step process. First, use precise speech to articulate exactly what the problem is. Second, take responsibility for your own life. Set your own house in order before you start criticizing the world. And third, confront the chaos that's right there in front of you, willingly. Let's really focus on that first step, precise speech, because it's a huge deal. When you refuse to articulate a problem, it just stays this formless, terrifying chaos. You know, that noise you hear in the dark could be anything, even a conspiracy of tigers, as the book says. It's overwhelming. But when you turn on the light and you actually look, When you articulate the problem, you might find it's just a squirrel. Precision turns infinite fear into a finite, manageable problem. This whole idea of personally confronting chaos, well, it leads to the book's ultimate goal, and it's a major shift away from the pursuit of happiness and toward the pursuit of meaning. The book leans on the words of Alexander Solzhenitsyn, a man who survived the Soviet gulags. He called the idea that we're made for happiness a pitiful ideology, one that gets completely destroyed by the first taste of real suffering. A life goal that shatters that easily, well, it just isn't strong enough. So if happiness is too fragile of a foundation to build a life on, what should we be aiming for instead? The answer proposed is meaning. See, meaning isn't a fleeting emotion like happiness. It's something you build. It's that deep sense of purpose that comes from developing your character, specifically by facing up to the suffering that is an inevitable part of being alive. So this is the ultimate antidote to chaos. Meaning is what you find when you stop avoiding the dragons in your life and you decide to confront them willingly. It's found in shouldering your responsibility, speaking truthfully about your problems, and voluntarily taking on the challenges of life. That, the book argues, is what gives life its purpose. You know, it's easy to see the metaphor in a story, but it's a lot harder to apply it to ourselves. So the final question I'll leave you with is this. What small, seemingly harmless dragon have you been pretending doesn't exist?